Hey, this is Daryl as a service coming to you live from regarding Office 365. I'm doing my regular stream in terms of going over the message center, and just before we get into that, I wanted to show you a little of what I set up and run in terms of the Facebook Live side of things. I guess working out loud because it's working out loud week, and I want to sort of share with you one of the things that I'm trying to rediscover is when I'm going in from a producer view, how do I get to that area where I can see the comments rather than who's joining me and all those sorts of stats. So let's have a flick over to desktop and webcam. So you're seeing probably a delayed coverage because you're doing a bit of a loop here. You're watching me live, but now you're seeing my delay of what I'm seeing. So what I'm trying to do is, first of all, from here, I've got the live stream running. I've done a preview. It is flicking on through. But I've seen all these stats, and what I'm trying to do is get through to the video itself so that I can go through and have a look at any comments or questions that appear. So I couldn't remember how I did this at the end of last week when I was trying to remind myself, so I think I can click through to the video broadcast. I couldn't remember how There we go, thanks very much, Daryl. View the permalink. I reckon that would do it. I think this is enough. So this takes me through to yet another area where I probably have to hit mute. Yeah, it's the one. Let's click play here. And I reckon that would do it. Yep. I think this is enough. So this takes me through to mute. Cool. Alright, and somewhere in here is our comments. Sweet! Alright, so that was only 4 clicks away. Now, the trouble with trying to do this on your own is it's quite a juggle if you don't have a producer. You're doing all this sort of stuff and you're trying to deal with the live content, trying to present. So thanks for your patience. Let's get back onto it. Close that over here. Cool. Alright, so the message center. Now I do like to actually start from the home page of the admin portal because it gives you some awareness of probably a page you might log into regularly to do various things, but you may not really be taking the time to have a look in the message center. Now you do get a few previews of messages that are important, and do make sure that you're clicking through and having a good look at what's appearing in the message center. I use the admin app as well on my phone, so I like to check in on that. Now there are a few messages there this week, and I'm not going to go through each and every single one of them and spend a lot of time, but I do want to just take a bit of time to go through some of the ones that I thought were interesting and important that affect me and what I'm doing. And I encourage you to do the same for your organisation. So we'll start off with one that I actually want to sort of get in and demonstrate too. It's interesting that some of the announcements that come into the Office 365 admin portal are, they are to do with the service, but they kind of address something more along the lines of the app and then what's available to use the service with. And so I thought this was kind of interesting that while it's not directly to do with the running of the service, it's about trying to access your contacts. So we'll have a quick look at this. This is add and edit contacts from Outlook in iOS and Android. Now this is I find this interesting because for a while you've been able to view your contacts and you've had to edit or author them from your desktop, from where else was there? Just seen a message come through from Jeremy Thake. But the thing is, like, I wanted to be able to go in and add a contact directly to Outlook on my phone, and the odd thing is that let's go over to AirPlay demo and have a look-see. There we go, good. Except it's needs a little help there to try and display it. Apologies, let's just bring that over here. Make it a bit easier to see. Cool. working with different screen sizes sometimes. So you're wanting to be able to go in and add a new contact, and the workaround for this, if you're using an iPhone, for example, is that you are using the built-in contacts within iPhone, because you're wanting to get all the nice integration between calls coming in, call recognition, etc. But you do want to be able to synchronize that kind of content across if you've got contacts that are just in your mailbox from the Office 365 account. So now we're able to add our contacts, and the thing is, it is leveraging the local contact app. So if you're on iPhone, the contact's there, and Android, whatever they call it over there as well. And it is still a similar kind of look and feel too. So I've got both of my mailboxes up there as well. But that in itself is quite useful, that I can add a contact directly to my work contacts. I'm doing it into my notebook, into my mailbox, and not necessarily just to my phone. And I guess the workaround's been fine up until this point, and this is working just fine. Now, if we just go in to have a look at some of these contacts, we're looking at, say, Alistair Pugin from Bright House. So the cool thing here is that we've got additional information. I can have a look at his IM or send a copy off. We've got the recent conversations that I can just jump in and have a look at too. So that's pretty useful. More information here. Okay, so that just jumps around and down. But yeah, it's good to be able to have that as an update, and see the Outlook contacts experience become a bit more rounded out. So let's go further down to our. All right. Oops. This is really struggling, and let's just get rid of our AirPlay. Wowzers. Alright, so moving right along, we have, this one's an interesting one. So being able to, what's it called? It's called Centralized Deployment. Now, some of the titles in these announcements within the Message Center are a bit nondescript. Centralized Deployment of what? Office? We already have that. Something else? I don't know. So you've got to go into these messages and have a look. The centralized deployment it's talking about is the Office Addins, and there is a new area within the admin center where you can deploy add-ins, whether they be ones from the Office store or ones that you've created yourself as an organization, and you create your own manifest file. So I'm going to take you through some of that process and have a look. So you go into settings and into service add-ins, service and add-ins. And up in the top there is upload an add-in. I was looking for it somewhere down here, but yeah, upload an add-in. It's going to give you a few things around whether your environment, your settings are all fine to be able to cope with that. Now, I discovered that there was a couple of things I had to change before I could go any further. Now, one example is that you do need to have OAuth enabled on Exchange as part of, I guess, the authentication side of things. Centralized deployment. So just to go through a very basic example, I'm going to just go through the Office store and choose an add-in, and there's one that I like to use or would like to deploy to my organization and make it available to everyone, would be a PowerPoint add-in which helps you find better pictures than the ones that you might snag off Google search or something like that. Might be breaking some kind of copyright rules there. So the Picket free images service is pretty good, and you can do your search and find images that have the different sharing licenses. So the idea being that you can choose that application, and this is going to take you through some steps about assigning it. But one thing that I thought was quite interesting here too is like who has access to it. So you can restrict the access to the app, or who you're rolling it out to rather. So if we go in through edit, could be to everyone, defaults to specific users and groups, and lo and behold, if I type in a group that I know is an Office 365 group, there's another example of why they're useful, because it's a security group as well. It's an Active Directory object. So I'm choosing the marketing group, and I can roll that out to that group. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that point there. The idea being that that's going to be an Office add-in that will appear in PowerPoint Online as an experience, and it should also centrally deploy to the Office add-ins within PowerPoint for desktop as well. Now, along those lines, if we go to see a little bit more information here, just some of the pages that you should click on through to when you're looking at that message. Let's have a look here. So just for those who aren't doing this so much, additional information is a really good area to click into and find out about, especially when the message needs a lot more explanation. So around this centralized deployment, my question was, okay, well, I could see Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. What about Outlook? Outlook add-ins are coming soon. So yeah, that's good. All right. So there's all the information that you can dig into and find out whether you're compatible and what else you might need to enable. If you haven't enabled OAuth on your Exchange environment, then you can go ahead there. So we've got another one here about Yammer. So it's really just a reaffirmation of what they're doing around the group side of things, that now that they're using Azure Active Directory for groups for the Office 365 customers, then they are moving to a different way of managing that membership. And so a public group that's moderated, in the past you could allow people to see the group, but people didn't necessarily have the capability to join. That's called a moderated group, because you're moderating the membership. But now they're phasing that out, and they've got a couple of other groups that are private listed or private unlisted. So you get the idea. And moving up there, so I use Intune. I haven't really looked at this one closely because I've only really got it there for demonstration and exploration purposes. I don't use it across an organization, but as I understand it, the conditional access side of things are now, the controls are in Azure AD, and you're managing that side of things there too, based on location, etc. Another notice from Yammer. So they had a weekly digest email that used to go out to just summarize some of the important messages or things that have been chosen that might be of interest to you based on your activity. And it is using the Microsoft Graph to pick out that content, so it is basing it off your actual activity and who you're connected with. But now they're phasing out the weekly digest and move into a daily digest. Probably makes a lot more sense, really, because by the time the week's through, if you're getting just a digest of 5 or 10 messages that might be of interest, it would be more useful to get that every day, and just as a digest itself, if you've subscribed to that. So we get our usual, this time of the month you get a usual what has been updated and rolled out to Office 2016 or Office Pro Plus. So a few things there about Excel and PowerPoint and Skype. I should probably look a bit closer at this Skype for Business screen sharing notifications. That's reasonably interesting to me. PowerPoint Designer, I've been using that a little more recently in creating new PowerPoints and just taking suggestions for the layout, and it's a bit more assertive and forward and saying, oh, look, I've got an idea for you, here's one way that you could lay it out, and here's 5 other suggestions. And I found that to be quite good, especially when I'm trying to not have a whole bunch of text. I want to have it look graphically appealing and just use it as a tool. Yet another Yammer announcement planned for change. There was still is, but is no longer going to be, a capability of saying, email me this conversation. So like emailing me a copy of it. You can still subscribe to it. You still get an email notification if you're part of that conversation or you've been mentioned or called out. For quite some time now, you're not seeing the whole message. You're just seeing a shorter version of it, and really trying to bring you back into the platform so you can experience it from there. But you can no longer email yourself a copy of that conversation. So that's going to be rolled back. Docs.com. Now I found this kind of a little bit sad, and then really kind of I understand. Docs.com has been out since I think about 2014, 2015. It was, or still at the moment, a way of curating your content, slides, documents. You can publish OneNote notebooks of a certain size. And I could list a few other things, but the sad thing is that by the end of the year, it's going to be shut down. And around that, you can kind of understand, because with the acquisition of LinkedIn, many of these basic capabilities of being able to publish documents and share them with your contacts or create something of a portfolio, it makes sense to keep that nice and close to a platform like LinkedIn, where your profile is there, and from a business perspective, people can get an idea of what you've worked on and see that as a presentation to you, or to the audience and to your connections. Now, just as a quick salute this was my page, and the one thing that I liked about it was that you could have sways as part of your content as well, and flick through and use that as a header. So a few different pictures from Ignite last year. For 6 months or so, I also pushed it a little harder and used it as a blog. I thought, well, let's try it out. Let's see if it actually works. And I made a blog post at the end of that after 6 months. So it had a lot of potential, but it really does make a lot more sense to, fit that alongside, or make more use of that acquisition that they made in LinkedIn, and make use of SlideShare. So back on over to last couple of notices. Unified message prompts. I had to read this a bit closer. This is one of those ones where you do have to click through to additional information. So unified messaging, that if you are using a phone system, you can push your voicemail up into the cloud and into Exchange Online, and use the unified messaging side of the service. A few hoops to jump through there to get that to work. But it's useful because it's all part of your inbox, and it's unified messaging. You can pick up your voicemail and listen to the file from there, or some of the service. Sometimes the service does a good job for particular languages, dictating what the content is within the voice message itself. So it looks like there's a new option coming, or has arrived. Let's have a look there. Published on. Okay, it doesn't really talk about when it arrives, but the idea being that you can create another message greeting or prompt, a little like a temporary message. Now they give an example for example, an emergency situation where if you want to log in and record a quick message to say there's been a fire drill, or we're working from home because of hurricane whatever is affecting the workplace. So yep, good to see that. And if that's your area of interest too, then you might want to dig into that a bit more. And our last one, and I will bring this up on screen as well, is our planner app. Right, Planner Banana. Let's airplay that. Let's bring that on over to poor little old Surface is struggling. And yeah, we've got all that there. And over to Planner. So the Planner app has been out for a little while, a few weeks or so. I think I saw it from a discussion that Jeremy Thake threw out there, and then it was in the App Store, on the Apple App Store. So Planner, you know that it's another service that attaches to Office 365 groups, and with every plan you get a group, and every group you get a plan. Unless you're a Microsoft team, then you get multiple plans, a plan for each channel, or every tab that you create, you get a new plan. That's still been, I guess, consolidated and clarified about how to work with that. But you see here on screen that we've got an example here from Adopt and Embrace where I work, and we've got a couple of plans there. So in terms of a weekly update, we can click on through. That was the Planner Hub, by the way, so you can see all the plans that you are using, favorited. So I favorited a plan, nice and easy to find there, and some of the other groups I belong to. I can go over and see my tasks across all the plans, and my buckets there of in progress and completed, so that's all good. But let's go back to this weekly update one. Bunch of plans, and then of course you can go in and see those tasks as well. So there is, actually there's something there that has been added. Perhaps I don't remember it being there before, but any discussions that you're having around this plan, or rather this task, that as you type it up and you enter that comment, that it's going to go back to the shared mailbox that's part of the group that's powering this plan. So now you can see the discussion there too. Now what happens if I click on that or thumb that? No. So I could add a comment. So let's do it the Naomi Moneypenny way, like she did in SharePoint Virtual Summit. I'm adding a comment from my phone. Alright, and that'll come through as an email to the group as well. Labels, etc. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So let me just gently go back to our desktop view and close that on down. So that's available and ready to use, and I think it's a good way to keep up with it. Now, at the moment with Planner, you do have to visit the plan, and to keep up to date with the different tasks that you are running through and performing for your group, for your team. You have to visit the page, and this is, I guess, the first extension in my mind of reaching out and making this a bit easier for an individual to work with, giving you more options. It's not just about going to a web page, but you can also do it from the app and manage your tasks there. My hope, I guess, is that it extends a bit further and it unifies with the likes of the To-Do app and into Outlook tasks, and really sort of has more of a integration going on with that experience. But I don't know if that's going to be the strategy. I think it feels like To-Do is more of another separate service, which at the moment is just down to individual tasks. Previously, in a Wunderlist kind of way, you could have team tasks, but To-Do feels like at the moment it's just an individual task management system, and it's integrated with Outlook. And then you've got Planner, which is your simplified project management and using buckets and tasks and cards and managing things out of the Planner Hub. The app really kind of helps complete that for me in terms of how to manage that as an individual rather than visiting that web page. So that was the week that was June the 9th and June the 10th here in New Zealand, Saturday morning. And those of you who are on the other side of the world and tuning out, grabbing a Friday drink or whatever, or maybe maybe you're watching this later on, that was the week that was. Here's my usual signature of clicking them all and dismissing them. I have viewed them all. So keep yourself informed, up to date. Make sure you get that admin app onto your phone if you have that permission and capability. And stay informed. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next week on Regarding Office 365.